So we spent a while looking at competitive intelligence research for judges, attorneys, and firms. And I wanted to talk just a few more minutes about finding jury information and information on expert witnesses. Again, it's a lot of the same sources and the same type of research, but I wanted to point out that you can get jury information and expert witness information as well. So in terms of finding jury instructions, on Westlaw Next, we can go to secondary sources and actually pick jury instructions and search through jury instructions that way. On Lexis Advanced, we would use our drop downs to limit to jury instructions, and we can take a look at that in class. I'll show you on Westlaw Next where they live. On Bloomberg Law, in litigation and dockets, under litigation resources, if you follow this trail, there's some other practical resources called practice resources, conveniently enough, that could be helpful. So let's just take a quick look at a couple of these paths. So on Westlaw Next, we can go to secondary sources, and then at the top we could pick jury instructions, and we could pick for our state, civil, or criminal, or we could do a general search. So let's look at eyewitness testimony. And you can see that we're getting jury instructions. Let's look at the federal for eyewitness testimony. And this is a suggestion of a jury instruction that you could give to a judge in hopes that he would take your suggestion and offer it to the jury. So I'm just going to show you quickly on Bloomberg Law how to navigate to the jury instructions. You would use the Litigation and Dockets tab, Litigation Resources, and then if you scroll down, there's a tab called Practice Resources, and under here there are federal and state jury instructions. So we looked already at some information on jury verdicts and settlements, and this can help us if we're trying to go into settlement discussions with an opposing counsel to determine what's a normal or likely verdict or settlement for the case that we're looking at. And on LexisNexis, we looked at the verdict and settlement analyzer. We can also use the drop down to limit our search to jury verdicts and settlements. So let's look at Westlaw Next for jury verdicts and settlements, since we've looked at it briefly on Lexis already. So on Westlaw Next, it's right on the main page, jury verdicts and settlements, and then you can narrow by topic or by jurisdiction. And let's just run a search for, delivery and forceps, or just forceps actually. And you can get a sense of some different cases and what the outcome was, and you can read the facts in these cases to see some of them they were in favor of the plaintiff and some were in favor of the defendant, so you might want to look at why that was. And just a quick reminder, on LexisNexis.com, this is the LexisNexis Verdict and Settlement Analyzer, and it's also available if you click under More. I'm not going to go through a search tonight on this because my Lexis is very slow today. Okay, so that's finding jury verdict and settlement information. And if you needed to find an expert witness for your case, there's a couple ways to do that. We could use the Lexis.com litigation workflow tab, has some information about finding experts. On Westlaw Classic, we can use the profiler. It's also available on Westlaw Next. And on Westlaw Next, we could look under expert materials as well. So let's take that search path. So we're going to look at expert materials, and we can do a profile search, and we can limit by state, and then we can pick our area of law. So if we had a medical issue and it was an obstetrics issue, we could search for an expert in just that area within Massachusetts. And I'm going to look at this Donald P. Goldstein because I know he's been an expert witness in a lot of cases. And we have some basic information about him. We would have to submit an email request, although we actually have his resume, so we have some more information here under resume. But I wanted to look at the trial court documents. And here you can see his actual expert testimony here. And we can also find out if those cases, if they went to a settlement and what the settlement was, or if they went to a court case and what that verdict was. Okay, so that's a little bit about finding expert witnesses and jury materials and some other types of competitive intelligence. And we'll be looking at this more in class on Thursday.